Hey, what's going on everybody? Jason here, and welcome back to another Modern Warfare 2 video. Today, we have a behind-the-scenes look at how one of the campaign missions was made for Modern Warfare 2. Here on the Call of Duty blog, we have an article titled Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, a deep dive into making Darkwater featuring Infinity Ward and Activision Shanghai. The Darkwater video is known as a vertical slice in game development, and the Darkwater video, for those of you who might not know, was the video that we got a little while ago showing us the Darkwater campaign mission, an internal playable demo that serves as a major pre-release milestone. It showcases a small game portion in its intended final state, highlighting core features, visuals, audio, and overall player experience for the studio, its publishers, and in this case, millions of fans to see what these developers want to make a reality everyone can enjoy. In choosing this campaign level to show off, Infinity Ward set the tone for what Modern Warfare 2 is, a visually stunning action-packed game that you'll have fun with this October 28th, or up to a week earlier if you digitally pre-order and take advantage of the campaign early access, which is what we covered in the video from earlier today. So if you guys want to check that out, I'll leave a link down below in the description to that video. Moving on here, it says, simply put, it's way more complicated than it looks. Quote, Darkwater balances being completely realistic while being completely ludicrous, said Rich Farrelly, lead level designer who worked at Infinity Ward for nearly a decade. You approach the oil rig, get up there, ascend, and that feels like clean house in the last game, Modern Warfare 2019. Military guys doing military stuff. And then the second half of the level, you're doing a ramp jump into the back of a moving ship. Somehow we made it work together to make it pretty badass. And then we have a quote from one of the producers at Infinity Ward. It says right here, quote, the intro of Darkwater is a collaboration across departments that everyone here should be proud of, said Candace Harris, a senior producer at Infinity Ward. She started out as a QA tester before the release of the original Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 and steps into her current role after being a producer on Call of Duty Modern Warfare in 2019. The animation team has to create the animations for the characters, boats, and faces. The lighting team has to go in there, light everything, and make sure you can see what's going on. The VFX and tech art guys did the water and atmosphere, and even at the beginning, we created a concept paint over that was our end goal of the look and feel of everything. That's just what we see in the game. What about the audio? That too needs extreme precision and detail, according to senior lead audio designer Dave Rowe. Quote, Chris Egert, senior sound designer, prototyped some hydrophone microphone techniques on a lake and recorded a killer boat sound, which is used in the intro and middle sections of the mission, he explained. We also needed rain, and a lot of it. Chris Staples, senior sound designer, recorded tons of precipitation and implemented rain emitters throughout the mission. The results are exceptionally immersive, as Chris explains. As you are walking by, things you hear and feel the rain around you in a realistic way. We recorded a lot of water movement and other sound design elements, and I got to use some of my own ocean wave recordings throughout the mission. If this was a traditional media piece, a film or TV show, the process would end there, but for a video game, it's about making this realistic world playable too. Now, before we go any further, I find this really fascinating how you have some producers, senior sound designers, and other employees at Infinity Ward sharing their experiences and how they crafted this particular campaign mission, and I can anticipate that we're going to be getting this for maybe a couple more campaign missions. Obviously, a game like Modern Warfare 2019 really did the best it could to look as realistic as possible, and I think it did a really good job. So seeing as Modern Warfare 2 is the sequel to Modern Warfare 2019, Infinity Ward has some pretty big shoes to fill from themselves to make this game look even more realistic. As April Friesen, a designer at Infinity Ward who helped create the mission, described, the creation of the oil rig was relatively straightforward. Using footage of smaller oil rigs for a layout and speaking to their military consultants on how their teams would clear it, the team had one half of the level down. The cargo ship was a whole different beast, Friesen said. Almost every department had to help out to make this playable. We had to get moving containers to push the player, get AI to react to moving containers and path around them realistically, etc. Not only that, but the gameplay we aimed for required us to rip apart the ship we had already built to make it at least 4 times bigger, along with redesigning all of the combat to reflect the new space. It's way more complicated than it looks, Farrelly said. We're talking about the physics of these scenic objects moving back and forth, making their speeds of them feel right, making it feel like they have proper friction on the deck. That's visual surface level of it. Now we throw AIs in there and we have a gunfight. Do they take cover? How do they know where the containers are at any given time? How do we control this whole thing? Make no mistake, game development is not easy, but together, this collection of veterans and fresh talent coming together with experience from past games, film and TV production, and elsewhere collaborate to make this all possible. Before we go go any further, let me pause again. I think this definitely gives a lot of players a lot more insight as to what really goes into making a game. And of course, something like Call of Duty has been based off of real locations for the most part for most of its games, real weaponry, real events, and there is a lot that goes into that. And more specifically, narrowing it down to the campaign has to feel as real and gritty and realistic as possible, which is why there's a ton of work that goes into the story mode of not just Call of Duty, but campaigns all over the place in video games. Modern video games are already very theatric, and combining the realistic aspect to that Infinity Ward is trying to portray in Modern Warfare 2, this is a very important task to get right. So once again, it's very fascinating to see this behind-the-scene glimpse at what we're going to be getting in the game. But now, moving on in the article, quote, "There is tons and tons of iteration on this level," said Patrick Hager, a 16-year Activision veteran and expert VFX artist at Infinity Ward. That work ends up benefiting other levels. Some of the big water splashes we put in for Dark Water, elements of that might show up as boat effects elsewhere. Quote, "It's also a lot of sharing where you are at with the team," said Daniel Stern, an expert VFX technical artist with an extensive commercial, TV, and computer science background. "Everyone chimes in and has different ideas, and that works great for us. One of the great things about this project is that there is not a lot of wasted work," Farrelly added. "That's built into the schedule. This time around, we said that everything we make is what we're going to ship. We built many milestones into the schedule, and we have enough of those to where we can slowly bring the quality up until the end so we don't have this steep hill to climb during the final months of the game production." And that is very important to hear. Obviously, we know the story behind Vanguard's development, and more specifically Vanguard Zombies development, how a lot of that was really rushed and forced, and things were put together really quickly, and things didn't pan out the way that the studios wanted it to. So hopefully this mini milestone schedule system that they have is going to be beneficial for Modern Warfare 2. The article then goes on to say, "Dark Water shows off the most advanced Call of Duty yet." Knowing the context behind that statement is as simple as taking a closer look and listening to realize how far the franchise has come. Take Call of Duty Ghosts, another multi-generation game that numerous developers including Farrelly, Harris, and Hager remember creating. Nearly a decade ago, Ghosts had its own water-based campaign mission, Into the Deep, and I remember that campaign mission. I thought it was kinda neat. Because of the technology available in 2013, I can't believe it's already been that long, it was well out of scope to create realistic water physics and graphics, along with, of course, that infamous fish AI, while still having the technical resources and memory space to have the rest of the game run at the Call of Duty standard 60 frames per second. So yeah, obviously Modern Warfare 2 is going to be more advanced in the visuals and the AI and the graphics than Call of Duty Ghosts, but what I find interesting here is that when they talk about the most advanced Call of Duty yet, it's a little bit different than what fans would interpret. Because I think if you were to go out and ask any Call of Duty fan what the most advanced Call of Duty means, they would look at the gameplay, the content, and any kind of innovation they bring to how you play the game. So I find it interesting that it seems like the developers and the fans have different contexts and different definitions as to what the most advanced Call of Duty actually means. But anyways, moving on in the article, "It was a cool experience, but it wasn't like real water," Farrelly said. So that was kind of a goal set by the team, to be able to create this new gameplay experience that we could spread across the different modes. Realistic water was a focus this year for Infinity Ward, and with the help of an updated engine, they were able to create something that would look authentic, as you were careening on an inflatable boat across it, across multiple platforms. The biggest thing that helped us with our lighting was the new shadow system, Krzysztof Wojcik, senior lighting artist, explained. "This project, the engine helped us introduce something called PCSS, Percentage Closer Soft Shadows, which allows us to have soft shadows on high-end PCs, but also next-gen hardware too. There is also a lot of improvement in our volumetric rendering system to solve volumetric fog so it renders better with our ambient lights and stuff. We have volumetric particles too," Hager added. "Instead of just having like these flat sprites, which most of our effects have always been, we're mixing actual volumetric particles to help fill it out. And that's important for us to make those big splashes on the ship." This new engine also opens itself up to better sound capture, as Rowan the audio team can now approach missions and other elements of the game like someone in Hollywood would mix a film. "The mission is comprised of a lot of water sounds, which typically present mix issues because they are so wideband and noisy," Rowe said. "In order to avoid frequency masking of important commands and moments, we can use engine features like real-time mixing and natural limiting to help control the mix and focus the player on the important task at hand. We push the quality here for every game. We try to just make it more real and perfect, Wojcik said. People sometimes say, oh, it's just another Call of Duty game, but it's not. There is so much work that people are not aware of for AI, the environment, scanning, making lighting more realistic. And for the most part, I do agree with what Wojcik said there, where every Call of Duty game has its own unique things that go into the production cycle, but I think when people talk about, oh, it's just another Call of Duty game, all the Call of Duty games share the same core fundamentals where you just shoot bad guys, you go into multiplayer, you shoot the enemy team, you go into zombies and shoot some zombies, and there's a lot of basic elements to Call of Duty, but of course on the back end things are different, so I think there's a middle ground to find here. And now shifting gears a little bit to the manpower side of working on Modern Warfare 2, working across time zones with the employees over at Activision Shanghai. We don't just throw some stuff over and say, do this work, Farrelly said. All teams are invested in it. They give us feedback on what they think would work better. It's a two-way street. Among other features and processes, Activision Shanghai is an instrumental part of getting the game's textures built via photogrammetry into Modern Warfare 2. All newly made textures were created using high-resolution scanned photos, said Tigger Liang, lead-level artist at Activision Shanghai. We achieve high-quality visual performance by combining them and adding subtle details, but some required materials do not have a one-to-one corresponding basic scan files. Some textures are combined with fine-tuning to achieve a higher quality visual performance, but no tool can replace an artist. Within the Call of Duty development process, artists from both studios and others work to make Modern Warfare 2 have high visual fidelity while maintaining 60 FPS. Having developers around the world allowed the team to tackle this task, as Ying Huang, a producer at Activision Shanghai, points out. The time zone difference won't stop us from actively collaborating. It's actually not a disadvantage from our point of view, Huang said. We take turns so tasks will be finished more efficiently. It's this way of looking at work, spread out across global studios and in-home offices during the pandemic, that allows Modern Warfare 2 to become the finely polished game you'll be able to experience in less than 80 days. Quote, I've been doing this for over 20 years, and this team is probably the best collection of developers I've worked with all in one place, Farrelly said. With all of us scattered across the four winds, working remote, with the energy of this team, we've pulled an incredible game together. Wow, that was a lot to cover in this video, but I hope it gave you guys more insight as to what goes on behind the scenes making Modern Warfare 2. I know it sure did for me. What I found kind of interesting about this article is that they really wanted to highlight the water. Obviously, the campaign mission that they are talking about takes place on an oil rig in the middle of the ocean, so there's water everywhere, but I find it very interesting that that was a highlight in this article. And I can only assume in the future, as they put out more articles and videos for behind-the-scenes glimpses at Modern Warfare 2, that we'll be getting even more aspects of the game highlighted, such as maybe the terrain, the enemy AI, the way the guns look and feel, and things like that. So far, I'm a fan of this marketing for Modern Warfare 2, showing us the in-depth behind-the-scenes look at how this game is made. It's a lot of information to cover, but that's what makes it very fascinating. There is a lot of things to cover, and there's a lot of things to talk about when it comes to game development. But what do you guys think about the behind-the-scenes look at the campaign mission Darkwater for Modern Warfare 2? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Anyways, guys, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, leave a like and subscribe if you're a brand new viewer, and check out all the links down below in the description so you stay up to date with everything that I do. And with that said, have a fantastic rest of your day or night, depending on where you are in this crazy world, and I'll see you guys next time.